Yeah, they hate when you elevate.
ATP, what it do with your boy Rain? Yeah, back at it again. Shout out to all my subscribers. It's that ATP Combat Media Show. If this is your first time tapping into content, I am going to encourage you to go ahead and subscribe, hit your bell icons as well, so you are getting alerts when this content is dropping. So another one in the books, Schofield versus Renee Giron in the books. I mean, we got to talk about it, right? We got to talk about it. Schofield did walk away with a win, but did he walk away with a win, right? And what do I mean by that? Well, first of all, a very hard punching, all out brawl of a fight. Going into the fight, what did we want to see? What did I want to see personally? What did Claymore Rain want to see out of this fight? I wanted to see a more poised Floyd Schofield. What are the complaints about Floyd Schofield? He overcommits. He takes too many big chances. He takes shots that he doesn't need to take. He gets hit in places he doesn't need to hit. He could sit back and box a lot more, and he seems to always be chasing the knockout and not allowing the knockout to come to him, and use that foundational boxing that his father was screaming at him and to do, right? To just get back to the basics. And people were complaining, as well as myself, were complaining about how he looked in his last couple of fights. Injuries he took that he didn't need to take. Cut under his eye, cut over his eye, things of that nature. And, just a little bit more patience, a little more poise would get him there. He could look a little prettier, right, on the way to the victory, but at the same time, defensively, just be a little bit more responsible. So what did we see in this fight? Well, he went in there against a Mexican. Was he Mexican? I'm not even sure he was Mexican. Was Renee Giron Mexican? Don't quote me on that. I want to say he was Mexican. He was definitely of Latin descent, right? But ultimately, a guy who can absorb a lot of shots, right? Absorb a lot of shots, and was definitely a brawler. And if he was going to win this fight in any kind of way, it would have been through a brawl. So you would have thought that Floyd Schofield would approach this match to make this guy uncomfortable, stay on his jab, move around the ring, walk him into some shots, but not chase him down and chase down and stand there face to face, just in that mid-range, exchanging shots with this guy, trying to break him apart in front of everybody. And it just seems like Floyd Schofield Jr. has drank his own Kool-Aid, right? His senior has convinced him that he's this hard puncher, one of the hardest punchers in the division, and that nobody can stand in the ring in front of him. And he got in there with somebody who could take those shots, right? And ultimately end up suffering his first knockdown in his fight, right? Got caught late in, I want to say around 10th or 11th round. He got clipped and sat on his pockets, and it really hurt him. It wasn't a situation where he was off balance per se, or, he really got hurt. He got clipped right on his ear or right behind his ear, and he got put down. So what do we look at when we look at Floyd Schofield now, right? He won the fight in unanimous decision, I'm pretty sure. And he's high ranked in the WBA ranking system. And obviously, when you think about the WBA, you got to think about Gervonta Tank Davis. He's right there, the king of the division, the king of the division without a doubt at this point. The face of boxing, the money is there. And people were pushing, including myself, were saying, listen, I would have rather seen Floyd Schofield fight Tank Davis or Edwin De Los Santos. But, this fight definitely did not help that argument. This fight definitely did not help that argument. Floyd Schofield Jr. has a lot of work to do. Is he ready to get in the ring with the likes of Tank Davis, Shakur Stevenson, even a Vasily Lomachenko? No, I don't think so. Not based off of this fight. Now, I believe in my heart that Schofield, a patient Schofield, a more poised Schofield, a Schofield who stands behind his jab, who commits to his boxing, who's not chasing the knockout, is a more competitive, a more worthy adversary for the top level boxers in the division. But when you're looking at 135 right now, you think about Keyshawn Davis, even Abdullah Mason. You think about obviously Gervonta Tank Davis, Shakur Stevenson, Vasily Lomachenko, even Raymond Moratala, right? When you think about all these guys, I don't see where Schofield fits in that picture and competes. He needs to be he needs to be he needs to be, I would say evolved, but I'm going to say developed. He needs to be developed. He has a lot more developing that he needs in front of him. And it looks like his father was not happy at all with his performance in between rounds, screaming at him, trying to get his attention to let him know, slow down, box, stand behind that jab. You don't need to chase this guy down. You don't need to be exchanging with this guy. He's going to catch you with a counter shot and sit you in your pockets. And ultimately, that's what ended up happening to Floyd Schofield. Obviously, Shakur Stevenson in the Twitterverse, you know, calling the fight as it's going and just letting Schofield know, well, letting everybody in the world know, because Schofield was in the ring, obviously, right? But just letting the world know that this kid is just not ready for me, right? In so many words, this kid is not ready for me. Oscar De La Hoya spoke on the fight and said simply, we need to slow him down. You know, at the end of the fight, Floyd Schofield said that he wanted to fight Shakur Stevenson. He wanted to shut him up. He believes that Shakur Stevenson is not going to brawl and doesn't have a chin quite like Renee Giron did tonight, and just believes it will be a different fight. I can't co-sign that. You know, sometimes these fighters' heart get the best of them. It looks like at least he has people around him that are trying to be honest with him right now. At least Floyd Sr. looks like he was being very honest with him, and Oscar De La Hoya as well was very honest to say, like, look, he got tested tonight. He gave him a C- grade on the performance tonight. Said he thought he should attack the body a little more. But I think if you want to wrap it up in something real simple, it's called poise and discipline, and he lacks it. He lacks it in a big way. And when you get in front of those guys, like Tank Davis and Shakur Stevenson, and you know, just all those people, Keyshawn Davis, right, Abdullah Mason, Andy Cruz. I mean, I can name a lot of fighters that I think would give this version of Floyd Schofield that I saw tonight a lot of issues. He's got a lot of development to go. Not ready for the big show. Let's see what they do next with him. He is in the rankings in the WBA as a number 2. Maybe he still goes ahead and he fights Edwin De Los Santos, right? Him and his father stated that Tank Davis had plans on leaving the division, going to 140 and vacating that WBA title. It looks like if Tank wasn't to leave the division, that they try to find a way to activate some sort of a mandatory or whatnot, meaning that Williams Zepeda would probably, you know, challenging Shakur Stevenson would probably lose his spot in the WBA once that happened. So that would kind of put Floyd Schofield there. I still think it would be a fight that people, not based on this fight, I can't even say that. I was going to say that people still would want to see him and Tank just because they know what Tank would do to him. And they know that he'd fight Tank, that he'd really put the pressure on Tank, and Tank would walk him into something and probably stop him. But I don't know at this point, right? I don't know. How much do people want to see Tank lose or get hurt, or how much more do they want to see him stop the opponents in front of him? Schofield is there to be stopped, right? An exciting fighter when it comes to that, athletic and has that heart to stand in there and go for it. That sometimes makes for an exciting fight, right? When you think about Canelo Alvarez and Edgar Berlanga, a lot of people were throwing shots at Canelo Alvarez when that fight was coming together, but ultimately what ended up happening? It turned out to be a pretty decent fight. Edgar Berlanga fighting, you know, Jaime Munguia the same way, fighting Canelo Alvarez, made it an exciting fight, even though he got stabbed on his pockets. And I'm not comparing, I don't want to compare at least Floyd Schofield to Jaime Munguia. I think Jaime Munguia is a lot more patient and skilled, but still an exciting fight for Gervonta Tank Davis if that would have ever come up. But what I'm also saying, still on the train, wondering how serious Floyd Sr. was about Tank, about the rumors being true about Tank going up to 140 and vacating that belt. That's a whole nother conversation, right? But Floyd Schofield has a lot of development left to do, man. He really does. And you know, not too much to say after that. Just wasn't impressed with the performance tonight. Congratulations to him. He won. He got to walk away with a victory. I hope he goes back to an honest camp. It looks like he will with his father, and they're going to work with that poise, and they're going to get him to take his foot off the gas a little bit and stop chasing those knockouts. You don't have to get those knockouts right now. You need to win in impressive fashion behind some good boxing, and you got to be defensively more responsible. You're way too scarred up in your face to be a 22-year-old contender right now. You've given up way too much flesh and skin in the game right now. That's where I sit at it. You guys let me know what you think in the comments. Floyd Schofield does walk away with a victory. Still undefeated. Looking for bigger and better things. What do you guys think makes the most sense of Floyd Schofield next? What do you think of his performance? Are you guys okay with the performance? Should it be a better performance? Is he ready to be in these conversations? Let me know in the comments. And shout out once again to all my subscribers. Now, if it's your first time tapping into content, I'm going to invite you, like I always do, to go ahead and subscribe. Subscribe. Hit the bell icon so you're all getting your alerts when all that content is dropping. But at this point, you know how we carry it. We out.